Hello, guys. Welcome back to the Big Screen Show. My name is Victor,
I'm Alex.
and we're back bringing you guys another movie review. First one of 2025. We are here the next year in this project, and we're starting off with a pretty good one, which kind of shocked me, at least personally. Wolfman, the what is it, Alex? Third iteration, fourth, maybe? What are they at now?
I'm thinking for this one as like it might be like the second one because we had one from in 2010. So this is like the one. This is like the second remake that's kind of based on what the original Universal monster.
Okay, okay. Well, regardless, something that's been done before, a little reboot action going on here to start off the year. And man, honestly, I'll start off real quick. Going into it, and even from back like a few months ago, it's been a little minute since this trailer's been floating before each movie we see. And every time it comes on and we see it, there's like literally no excitement from me at all. I just have to be honest, like no excitement, no desire to really see it. I mean, I knew we would still go see it, but like I was not any remotely even excited about it at all. But now we go see it, and post seeing it, man, I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. Like, it really surprised me in a honestly like way more than even just a regular shock factor. Like, I'm like super, super surprised. Like, I think it exceeded every expectation I had. I was expecting what, like, boring, potentially kind of uninteresting, suspense to be at zero. Because actually, I'm a big horror movie guy, I'm a big thriller movie guy. You know that, Alex. But a lot of the movies these days, they can capture my attention. But at the same time, I don't actually feel physically tense while I'm watching it. This movie, man, I mean, I literally could not sit still in the theater. Like, I actually could not just sit still in the theater. It makes no sense at all. It literally like was so good, and I think honestly, that's my biggest thing was the suspense and the intensity. Intensity is the word of the day with this video and with this movie. I think the intensity was so high, like literally like every single. I mean, we'll get into the spoilers territory, but anyways, that's my non-spoiler way of telling y'all that I think this movie was actually a big shocker, and I give it two thumbs up. My rating's at 8 out of 10. But Alex, I know you went down the wormhole prior to seeing this new one and saw the previous one, so I want to hear your take. What do you think?
Boy, honestly, I wouldn't say I was like well, honestly, since the werewolf has always been like kind of like my favorite type of monster, like way more than like vampires, like Frankenstein, creatures from the Black Lagoon, from like the original past monster stuff. Because I just love like wolves, werewolves, and things like that. So it kind of goes hand in hand, and like the abilities. So the fact that this movie went way more like in depth on like the type of abilities and scent and the type of and senses and change that goes on as you go into the process of becoming one. It was very done amazingly with great developing progress over time, and also the actors in the film are just giving their all like 100%. Like
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Abbott, General Julia Garner, Matilda Firth, the three main characters in the who were like in like literally part of the whole movie. They did an amazing job. Got to give it up to like the makeup and design for like the Wolfman concept, which is like drastically different from like anything that's come before that's been put on screen for like any type of werewolf adaptation, from like the transformation and the design and look of it, which I'll go into more detail later. But honestly, when I saw the trailer, I was like very interested because the director was Leigh Whannell, who also did Elizabeth Moss's Invisible Man movie, which we both loved. He also did the movie Upgrade, which you haven't seen, but was still like one of like his best movies that he did. And again, he was also involved in like the Insidious movies and Saw, stuff like that. So like he's had a pretty good track record, but mostly with like Upgrade and Invisible Man. So like the fact that this is like his second project that he's done that's meant to be like a remake from like after the failure of like Universal's Dark Universe failure after the whole Tom Cruise The Mummy movie. He basically took these two, what was originally meant to be part of like a shared universe thing, and made it into its own distinct story with like its own little like themes and like character, that's an exploration for like its characters. So honestly, I had faith in this movie for him, and he did. I think he did a really great job, and it's definitely different from like any other werewolf film that's been done. And I think this so drastic and different from like again from the past Wolfman movies and everything like that, where it's unrecognizable, but it's had its own unique identity, and it's not trying to be like a carbon copy replacement, but it has its own little like fair nods in it. And so I think I love this movie, and I should give it an 8 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, same score. I agree. Obviously, you know a lot more of that backstory, but actually, you're right. I we do love the Invisible Man. I mean, I thought that movie was great back when
Hmm.
that came out. So he's back with another really good one, which honestly now reminds me of like that same intensity. There was a similar type of intensity with Invisible Man, where you're kind of just like around every corner of everything that was kind of going on. Just like in this movie, you kind of can't sit still and you're just like at the edge of your seat, which, hey, he's doing a good job doing that. He wrote it and directed it, which is nice, but 8 out of 10 for both of us. So certified two thumbs up from the both of us. Definitely go check it out. If you guys have not seen it yet, we definitely recommend it. It's actually really, really good. If you're in for a fun time with some intense wolf creatures in the forest. Now, moving on to spoiler territory. We're spoiling territory now, so you have been warned. If you don't know how things work around here, we try to bring you guys videos at least once a week, sometimes more. So please make sure to subscribe to the channel because it really does help us out. Come watch some more videos and join us on this journey. And if you like this video, the best way to let us know is by hitting that thumbs up button down there. So please make sure to do that as well. But now we are entering spoiler territory. You have been warned. But Alex, so like the intensity, I just keep going back to this intensity, bro. Like, and honestly, the best part about it is the practicalness. Very little
Yes.
CG, very little special effects, a lot of practicality. I thought that was very, very, very good. I want to hear your take on that.
Oh yeah, actually, I have to agree. It's like the progressive state on like Christopher Abbott's character Blake, who becomes the Wolfman, is like so progressive, but also shows like the degrading of like humanity as he becomes like less human through every inch part. Where he's losing his hair, he's becoming the whole his skin complexion is changing, his eyes are different colors, the fangs are forming, claws are coming out, and the thing is, it always seems like he has like, instead of it being like this very one scene transformation that's been done to like every type of werewolf film that's been made. This one is really all drawn out as you see from his perspective as he's changing, because like not only is with the practicality, but practicality in like how he perceives himself, for like the sound design for his transformation. So when it goes like when he's hearing things, there's like when he's seeing his visuals where he's in a dark place, but then we see from his perspective, there's like a shift change in like with the lighting, and we see from his perspective that even though it's darkness, he's seeing nothing but light and everything, as if he was staying in the room with the lights on, which was amazing. But it's all said that the director had said that his inspiration for this is like body horror films like The Fly, The Thing, where with The Fly, it kind of involves like kind of the same thing, where it has this one scientist who goes through this huge, long, degrading body shape formation as it becomes like this human fly type creature monster, and then it really goes more in depth from like what he does, what he does, eats, how it affects his body, and things like that. And so the fact that there's this whole perspective shift from like the long transformation is like really spectacular, and especially when we get down to like his final form, which again, it's unlike anything we've seen or I've seen anyway in a werewolf movie, where instead of being like way more animal hair all over and everything, he has a bit of hair and stuff in there. He has like the fangs and the eyes, but he's still a man in there, but but he's very animalistic, almost kind of like a cannibal type thing,
Mm,
or kind of like a golem esque type creature, wolf
sure.
animal thing in some way. You know
Hey,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I totally get that. It is completely different, but it fits so well into the narrative that is built in this world that they built. It fits really well. I really like how you can actively sense, like not even just see, but like sense the bit of the progression of how he loses his humanity bit by bit as the movie goes on, and he goes deeper and deeper into becoming obviously his final form. Like, because there was that one moment, where he like bolts outside and then comes back. You knew that's where he lost it all, and like all of his humanity at that point is like
Yeah.
completely gone. You know.
Yeah, you gotta give it to
Um.
Christopher. Yeah, you gotta give it to Christopher Abbott because his performance wise, his acting as he shows the shift and change from like a regular, normal, loving dad to this huge like animal who instead of protecting his family, he actually wants to like he wants to eat them, he wants to kill them, and you can feel like
Mm-hmm.
this shift and change from his personality type where he doesn't want to do it, but he also has like this insatiable desire, hunger for it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
would not
Yeah.
work without his performance.
Oh yeah. 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 And I also thought, yeah, even just like crawling, right? Like crawling, things like that. Like that takes a certain kind of art to it, especially when you have like one limb chopped off. Like I was like, how the
Yeah.
heck? And then you're seeing him do it, and I'm like, honestly, yeah, like you said, like it's like really impressive his performance because like that's not easy. Like it's almost like playing like six different roles all in one, like going from like the beginning of the movie to the end, you've played like six different, iterations of the same character by that time. So yeah, it's really impressive. And I want to give a shout out to Julia Garner. As I told you, I'd seen her in a prior project, Ozark's Netflix show. Obviously that's a pretty big show, has some kind of a backing to it. I mean, 5 seasons, people loved it, and that's the only place I've seen her in before. But let me tell you, it's a completely different character than what she is in Ozarks for sure. So to see her in this is actually pretty good. Like I've never seen her in anything else, and I thought I just want to give her a kudos because I think she did a great job in this role as well. But my biggest thing to talk about as far as this movie is concerned, and you probably knew this was already coming, but the sound design, dude, like the sound design is, I mean, honestly, without the sound design being at the level that it was, this movie is not where it is. That's my opinion. Like
Yeah, you're actually right.
you can play it out visually the exact same way, but make the sound design something else, or maybe something not as good, or whatever the case may be, and it just is not, the movie as a whole is not as good as it ends up to be here. And so I think the sound design is a major, major prop point. I mean, even from like, you're talking about, you hear these howls, right? These wolf howls in the distance, and this big like, dude, like I don't even know, but there's this space. There's this space, and you're in it, and like you could like close your eyes while this movie's playing, and you still are like freaked out and intense and uneasy because the sound is doing so well. I mean, going back to something recent that did a fantastic job, which is like two for two, if you want to say, but like Nosferatu. I mean, we off camera talked about how big the sound design was in that, but it was almost like that same thing applies here. It's like the audio was 50% of this film, 100%.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because again, with the sound design, it's like when we start seeing the change in Blake, we start getting that enhanced hearing. He's literally going through all around the house where he's hearing like the stump and scratching up against the house that he's stuck in with his family. And you think it's like the werewolf that like scratched him and like start to make his transformation. But like really, as he goes up the stairs, as he's building the tension and stuff like that, we find that it's literally just a spider on the wall crawling on it, making these loud noises where no one else can hear it but him because of his enhanced senses as you start to feel the change starting.
That's right. It's little things like that, like, and just like, I don't even know, like, it's the whole atmosphere. Even when they're perfectly safe and just looking outside of windows, there's like this eeriness and this small little bit of sound that fills in the space that just adds so much. And honestly, I don't know, I have to go look at and see who the composer is, but man, like, a clap, a round of applause for them or him or her or whoever it was, because man, I was thoroughly, thoroughly impressed. I could not get enough of that. But yeah, that's my biggest thing. Is really the audio in this really takes it up so many levels. But what about you? Anything else?
Yeah, I will say my favorite part of the sound design is literally just like when they're hearing like howls from like the Wolfman in there into the
Yeah, yeah.
nighttime at the sound transformation, because like that's just so iconic into like the werewolf brand type thing where it's like
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like I'd be disappointed if they didn't do that, but I'm so glad they did it. And another interesting thing I thought about going back from like the original Wolfman was the fact that they explained it more as like lycanthropy during that time, where it's like literally meant to be like a mental disorder where someone believes they've transformed into or are turning into a wolf. It's meant to be more like a delusion, not a supernatural condition. But I think they took that turn where it's like instead of him basically being like this, turning into like an actual wolf type thing, they basically went with more human wolf type thing as like a form of it being also part of being part of a delusion. Because like as we go through his
Mm,
perspective, as he changes, like he doesn't recognize his family anymore. He can't understand them, and they can't understand him. And their faces and their eyes are kind of like blocked out and unrecognizable. Where they, right to him, they're nothing but like food or a meal. And I remember mentioning in an interview where they're talking about like you can tell the changes in by the eyes, as the eyes are the windows to the soul and everything
yep.
like that. So I think they took a really creative way of using that sense of lycanthropy terminology that was used and made it into like an actual grounded physical essence of Wolfman in this movie, which I love,
Mm,
honestly.
okay. Yeah. Then I'll have to agree. Like, I mean, I haven't seen the other ones, like, but I mean, like you said, it works so well in here. Like, and it adds to that thing that you can kind of sense the loss of humanity as the movie progresses. That also adds to it. So, yeah, I agree. It was done great. That's honestly about the only like visual effects you get in this movie. Side note, like pretty much
Yeah,
when he's in that, like you kind of see from his perspective, their perspective type thing. That's like the only time I see visual effects. And side note, shout out the camera work because there's some of these angles and these shots that were taken all kind of like one take as he like progressed, and the fighting too between the other wolf and Blake, who was obviously his father. We end up finding out it was the other wolf, but when they had that fight in the house, there was a lot of good camera work there. But anyways, what I was gonna say is there's some good camera work where you could see him like losing the nails, turning into claws and things like that,
yeah.
and like kind of becoming more like boned and stuff instead of like more uh meat filled, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it felt like more like his bones were kind of like expanding, changing shape. Because like during his
Yeah.
transformation, his head was like growing, expanding. You hear like the
Yep.
bones
Yep.
crunching as his bones are extending in his hands, as it was like taking out his regular nails and making the claws form from the placement of those nails and things like that. You
Yep.
know?
Yep. 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 So all that works. All that's like so good, dude. And every bit of that you just talked about, the sound design within all of that. I mean, every single bone kind of stretching and crackling, popping, and like, oh, dude, it was just such a just makes your hair kind of just stand up and just kind of feel uneasy, and but in a good way. Like I love movies like that. Because it's like one, it's engaging, and two, there's no way you have my full attention. So when it's like that, it's the best because it also adds to like how good everything is. Um, but yeah, anything else? I
Yeah, honestly, even though with all we talked about, the one focal thing there that wouldn't have made it work so well is there was like an emotional focal point, which again is like the family in itself and
Yeah.
Blake with his daughter Ginger, played by Matilda Firth, who, again, she did a fantastic job playing the kid. Where again,
Oh yeah.
she wasn't annoying. She was like actually felt like what a normal kid would, and the fact that
Mhm.
the writing and stuff is a little bit more mature, where it's like the parents don't lie to the child and are very realistic about these certain situations and isn't just saying
Mhm.
it out of places like feeling better when we know that's like normally that just be like bullshit. You know you are in very serious danger. There's no point in lying to her. And
Right.
they didn't. They kept her tried to keep her protected as well as they can, but also being upfront about it, which
Hmm.
which again is very healthy, and you don't see that a lot. Where usually the default would be like, don't let the kid worry about nothing.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That's definitely a cliche in Hollywood and film. So it's good. It's different. It's like a fresher breath of air in that sense. I agree.
Yeah. And again, also adds more to like Blake's depth into being the Wolfman, where again, from the beginning of the movie, it was already tense at the jump where we see that the original, that first Wolfman character, and then where with Blake as a child hunting with his dad, and then like his dad essentially being like, well, Blake was scared of his father, and he's
Puppy.
kind of like meant to be like an angry man, but like Blake grows up and trying not to be like that. But then I think
Yeah.
after his whole transformation, and then finding out that the wolf that was hunting him and his family was his father, and then he killed him, like literally killed him. He literally took a bite out of the dude's neck and killed him on the spot. After finding out that it was his father, I think that was then like the shift of like becoming what he was afraid to be, which again, so he wanted to be the opposite of his father, where he was scared of him, but he didn't want his kid or his family to be scared of him. So then that
Man,
meant to be like a turn.
it's kind of deep in that way, oddly enough,
Yeah.
which you would not expect from a movie like this, you know. But you're right. Like it definitely, it did have that like recurring like central theme throughout the entirety. Pretty much after you meet him as an adult with a child, like you've gotten the sense that that's like his mission and his goal. But it's funny how ultimately it ended up being that way, you know.
Yeah, so I think that all in all really cements it, especially about the ending where Charlotte, Blake's wife, and Ginger's mother ends up like, literally to protect them and to protect their daughter and for him to like have it end.
Yeah.
She ended up shooting him.
Hmm.
Which again I saw coming because that's like a really common thing for like werewolf movies because again there's like no cure or anything, so it's usually always have to be like death by silver bullet and things like that. But I think since it's like a very more grounded take, a regular fatal gunshot worked just as well, which in this version of the movie makes a lot more sense since in the past versions like the whole silver and silver bullet stuff fits more since it's like more animalistic and is more tougher as compared to like his version of this.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think that about covers it. I think that covers it for me. What about you?
I actually do think that's I think that's everything because I think all around those characters have their own great moments and their own little emotional aspect in storytelling. Although I will say the relationship between Charlotte and Ginger, I understand the protective nature was there, but I think more to like in the early in the movie, it was like Charlotte had like a fear that she wasn't close with her daughter
Hmm.
as Blake was. I feel like that moment there where the mother is trying to connect with her, I don't think there wasn't really much of anything there, but I think
No.
because trying being caught in the moment and protecting her, as well as the fact that Charlotte was really more dependent on Blake being there for Ginger and the whole family, since like he was like really the rock around everything, but with him
Oh yeah.
gone, I think that's kind of making it cement more that this is like her time to actually, be the one to actually take charge and be the one to be there for Ginger during that time. So I think even though it's not there per se, I think you can kind of see it there in these simple moments by the end. So like I think it's enough. Just want to
I
put that
think
out there.
I think it's definitely a weak point in the movie, but it still does enough. You know,
Mhm.
like especially with everything else that's going on, you kind of just like it's like you can tell it's a flop, but you don't mind it as much. You know.
Yeah, I think because the tension is so good and builds, because there's always something else going on in the way, as long as like the developing progress of like Blake and his descent into being the Wolfman. So
Yep. Yep. Well, that's gonna do it for us. Like I said, like we said, definitely go see it if you have not seen it. Wolfman, it's out in theaters now. Two thumbs up from us. It's certified from us on this side. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you don't know how things work around here, we try to bring you guys videos at least once a week, sometimes more. So please make sure to stick around, join us on this journey, and hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, the best way to let us know is by hitting that thumbs up button down there, because again, we really do appreciate it. With that being said, we are the Big Screen Show, and we'll see you guys very soon. Peace out.